This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the biggest running podcast the world has ever seen. We are here until Hayden gets his curry at 8 o'clock. We're going to be entertaining the nation until Hayden's food arrives. So if you are in Hayden's mansion, whatever wing you're in, don't panic. We'll get through this together while you wait for your food. You must be starving. Now, we've got to give a big shout out to our friends at Skechers for sponsoring the podcast. Thank you very much to Skechers. Go over to skechers.co.uk. And if you're waiting for some new running shoes from them, it's coming soon. I've been warned. Start Fitness, use the code 40runs, which I know you all do. Thank you very much to everybody who tags me on that. I also want to give a shout out to the guys at Kendall, actually, because this week we had the TV crew up in Carlisle filming our Carlisle group, and that's where Kendall are. So you can use the code 40runs and you're going to get some money off of Kendall Mint Company products, which is awesome because that's what we recommend. What else do we need to do? Oh, we've got a big partnership announcement coming very, very soon, which is very exciting. I can't tell you any more about that, but just make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter. I think it's awesome for everybody. If you've not checked out our performance coaching app, I would strongly recommend you do that if you're looking for some help. Over the summer, when you get faster, I've got a marathon, half marathon, 10K, whatever, in the winter, autumn time. Make sure you check out 40runs.com to see our new awesome bit of kit that we're using. I think that's about it. I want to ask, because I caught a little bit of the conversation, Wilco, what's this about your 100th part run?
Yeah, my 100th part run is coming up in the middle of July. It's the 13th. It does mean that I've got to cram one in tomorrow when I've got a very busy day at work. So I've got to get up at the crack of dawn and go to London. It will be at Charlton Park Run.
Why did you pick that?
South London. Well, I picked that, pre-lockdown, I used to live there when I was working in London. I lived in Charlton for 15 years, just up the road. Lots of people know the area through Charlton Athletic Football Club. I just used to live just up the road from the Valley. And it's the park where I first started doing my running, where I first put on a pair of trainers and thought, right, I'm going to go out for a run, like 7 years ago. And I moved back to Hertfordshire during Lock Run, and then typically...
Lock Run.
It might have should have been renamed Lock Run because it basically.
Yeah, I was on furlough. I was a semi-pro runner.
Make sure you go and trademark that.
Yeah, you don't go very far on a Lock Run.
No.
Anyway, So I moved back to Hertfordshire during lockdown, and then of course 2 weeks after I sold my house and moved back, they opened a park run about 300 yards from my house. So I decided that then that I wouldn't do it until I got to my 100th, and I'd do it then. And that's coming up on July the 13th.
So you're all invited. Now, tonight, we're going to be talking about setting running goals. We're going to give you a step-by-step goal. I've got 5 sort of steps, 5 stages in what we're going to go through tonight. So it's quite, let's say in-depth, because we don't do anything in-depth. Maybe we drown, but that's about as close as we get. But we're going to be going through that in a bit. So hang about for that. If you're interested in setting, I would say, realistic running goals, we're going to be going through that tonight. So we're going to be adding a little bit of value to your lives. If you are joining us live, so we record this live. We do this a little bit differently to your polished podcasts that are out there that everybody's doing, videos and all this sort of stuff. We do this a little bit different. We film this live. Okay. So if you're tuning in live, then get into the comments, get into the chat box thing and ask away. You know, whatever you want to talk about, whether you want to talk about what curry Hayden's having, the fact that Wilco looks like Ray Winston, and the fact that
I'm the daddy now.
And Al seems to have a very big hoodie on, despite it being 18 degrees. The other thing that we've got to do, and you'll have to bear with us as we navigate through tonight, but you've got to be aware that we are controlling the skies at Heathrow Airport tonight. As you may notice that we've all got our headphones on tonight. So ours currently guiding the 747 into Heathrow. So we might get a little bit busy with that. But no, seriously, get your questions in. Al's going to be keeping an eye on that, and he's going to make sure that we get in touch with that. But yes, so stick around because we're going to be talking a step-by-step guide. Before we get into that, I want to talk about there's a couple of things I want to talk about because we've got a big weekend. Firstly, I hope some people aren't watching tonight live because they're out doing either 7K or 7 miles at 7 o'clock, right, Hayden?
Correct. On the 7th of June.
Yeah, and that is to sort of. I've just realised, by the way, there's 2 ducks on that roof, which is a sign, good sign. But yeah, that is to in reference to the sad passing of Rob Burrow. The foundation that we work with along with the Leeds Rhino Foundation and 40 Rounds Running Club, we've got a group that meets every Wednesday at the Henley Stadium. It was a tough night for them this week, I would say. It was quite moving to see all the stuff that they posted. But yeah, so we hope that some of you are out there doing that tonight to remember what an amazing human being he was, and also, you know, how everything that he brought into running in a way. Do you know what I mean? Through his work that he did with Kevin and all that kind of stuff for the charity. It was just incredible. I'm going to be at the Leeds 10K, and I know they're now because I saw Bob on, I think it was Instagram, saying that the money from that's now going to go to the charity as well, which is awesome. I mean, you were there, Wilco. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
What leads and running and the connection, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It was a great event. I mean, some of the folks in the Leeds group got the opportunity to meet with Rob and his family and a few other people before the race, which was it 3 weeks ago, something like that. Yeah, and it's just brought so many people together. I mean, obviously, you know, it's a very sad time and it's very difficult, you know, when people would have known that, you know, this day would have come, and you still can't prepare for it. But what a legacy the man has left, and his friends. I mean, which really, you know, getting all deep and philosophical is all we can really hope for, really. You know, that when when our time comes, that people will feel that, you know, we made a mark and we did something. And, you know, I was really proud. I would have done that race last year for the inaugural one because I've been I'm not a rugby league, even though, you know, my career in sport, I'm not a rugby league fan. I didn't really know much about him before the race, but I've been so in awe of the whole effort of him and the rugby league community, Kevin Sinfield and the others, and what they've done. I always thought, as soon as they announced that race, I thought, I want to be part of that. I know it was a tough marathon, big hills. Those rugby league lads, you know, they know how to run a hard race. But I was so in awe of everything that they'd done. It was just sort of like, I don't care that it's going to be tough and it's going to be up hills. This is just something that I want to be involved in. And
what do you reckon is just go back to him himself? What do you think his legacy is going to be? Do you think he's going to be always known as an amazing rugby league player? Or is he going to be known as a campaigner for MND? Or is he always going to be known, maybe in 20, 30 years' time, as the Leeds Marathon, the Rob Burrows Leeds Marathon, as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and people sort of not forget about Rob, but youngsters come up, not know about him. One of his legacy will be running, and it will be a marathon as opposed to the rugby or the MND, or will it just be all free forever? Because
I'm sure it'll be all free together. You know, this, particularly now that you know, there's a vogue for sort of like these big pictures on the side of houses now, isn't there? You see them in all major cities, all major sort of people and stuff like that. And he will always be celebrated as a great son of the city of Leeds, which is a very, you know, it's a very sport orientated place, and it's a very community, like it's a sort of place that everybody, you don't see many Man United shirts in Leeds, you know. It's a one town sort of place. Everybody supports the football club. They all come together, and he will always be seen as such a great son of that city.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's an incredible thing. It's an incredible, I don't know, what's the, it's just a guy, and everything around it was, it's just so, yeah, I'm just in awe of the whole thing. Yeah, Al, I really want to get your take on it. I know you just popped off, but I really want to get your take on this.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, Wilco's talking about the rugby league stuff, and I must admit, never really followed rugby league once it went off grandstand. You know, I remember rugby league in the 70s.
Grandstand.
Featherstone Rovers.
Black and white TV.
Probably. So it only really came into my consciousness when he started the campaign around MND and then the running. So I would imagine I'm not alone, probably. in the the presence that he's had in the short space of time that it's all happened is a legacy in itself. So it's not to downplay the rugby league. I'm sure in that community it will be forever missed. But the marathon is a way for us to celebrate it. So look forward to seeing that event grow and grow.
Yeah, do you fancy doing that one now?
Has it got hills? Remind me.
Very much so.
No.
I found it wasn't just. It was a real eye opener to me because I knew it was hilly. There's a 2-mile hill at sort of like mile 19. So I've been looking forward to that but what I didn't comprehend was that how difficult it was going to be running down a hill as well. That really took it out of me as well.
Don't do Edinburgh Marathon, Wilco.
I think I've been there. I've done that. But I think it's because these rugby league players that I think they're the toughest of the lot. Of all the sportsmen, that is such a hard sport, and they are rock hard, those lads.
Yeah.
And I just think they thought, I was only bloody ill, get on with it, and the rest of us just had to.
Yeah, they do it, have a cup of tea, and they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's like running with the Marines, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Hayden, I'll cut you off. What was you going to say?
No, I was just going to say when it comes to, in particular, looking at running, when you look back in history, like iconic moments and have these top 10 moments of iconic things in running, I would honestly think that the two guys at the London Marathon that went over the finish line together was sort of when he helped him out and stuff. That was pretty iconic. And I think Kevin Sinfield carrying Rob across that finish line, that's got to be one of the biggest moments you're ever going to see in sort of marathon history, I think.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's it's very poignant, and I think the whole thing at the moment that's not the reason why I'm going to do the Leeds 10K. I'm going up there because I want to go and do it, but I'm even more sort of excited. I know it's probably the wrong word to use, but to be part of that community at that event.
I think I was like that with a marathon. You want to. It's one of those things. Like, I think this is such a great thing. I just want to play my part and go up there and do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Now, sort of without sounding crude, but like sort of moving on. Firstly, actually, if you're joining us late, get your questions, comments in the chat box. Get involved with what's going on tonight. We're going to be talking about setting running goals, realistic running goals. We're going to spend a bit of time on that. But Al, you've got some volley news, haven't you?
Well, it links back into an episode we did a few weeks ago where I think just before we came live on air, the Hackney half prices landed at £72 or whatever. And if you remember that, we had some discussion about whether it was pricing people potentially out of London races. Well, the good news is there is a way to do it in 2025 for free.
Oh,
you heard it, absolutely free. Now, it comes back to the volunteering. As a club, we're now working with Motive, which is the reincarnation of Limelight. And we're looking to put together a volley team for the Saucony 10K on the 14th of July. So come down to London, celebrate Wilco's 100th Parkrun, stick around, volley on the 14th of July. And as part of the volunteering rewards, you get to choose a free race. Ooh. And in their race calendar is Hackney Half, Oxford Half. It will be the 10K in 2025. And I think they have a Blenheim triathlon. So
yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And I think they might even have a duathlon as well.
Yeah. So that morning of volunteering, can get you a £50-60 race for free. Even so it's definitely got to be worth a shout. So go onto the main Facebook page, have a look at events. There is an events page. Drop your comment if you're interested, and hopefully we can sort you out on the volley crew. And there you go. You've got Hackney Half for free.
I'd also say, Chris, and you did it as well last year. Oxford Half's a cracker. I really enjoyed Oxford Half.
Yeah, I really enjoyed, and that's a ballot. So I really enjoyed the Oxford Half. I thought it was, as with those all, I put the price to one side, okay, because that's just, we've had about 18 discussions on that, and I did actually when they said they sold out, I actually did work out how much they made. It's just the way my brain works, but put that aside. But I think they are some of the great, some of the top events in the country at the moment. I just wish they were cheaper and they didn't price out maybe some of the local communities. But let's see if they do something around that, as we suggested last time. But yeah, that's a brilliant shout out. Another reason to be part of the club, volunteer at these sort of events and stuff, and then you get fantastic rewards like that. Get the opportunity to do those landmark events now all around the country. So definitely make sure you go over there and get involved with that. Right, okay. So I tell you what, boys, let's dive in a little bit. We'll come on to the weekend a little bit later because I think this could take some time. Hayden's looking a little bit nervous. Don't worry, Hayden's family will 100% finish by 8 o'clock and you will have your curry. Okay?
As long as we are, because I can hear him sort of scurrying outside the
They're
door.
sort of scurrying. They're sort of like
panicking,
walking about, having a bag of crisps. Someone's having a cheeky digestive. You know what I mean? Getting ready. You know, there's a bit of a wash up going. Plates are coming out.
Yeah, they're in the oven, warming up.
On, warming them up. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Of course.
Right, okay, boys. So I thought it'd be interesting at this week because I know some training plans are starting next week, week after, the next few weeks, right? So I thought to myself, it's interesting to hear people's goals, aspirations at the moment. And that could be around catch the 5K, that can be around a half time, that can be run completing a half marathon, whatever, right? Or obviously doing a full. So I thought to myself I think we should discuss like a step-by-step guide on setting running goals, right? How to go about it. Because some people, they sign up and go, right, I'm doing a marathon because everybody on TikTok's doing it. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to run with no shirt on and I'm going to get a pair of running shoes and I'm going to do it in 2.5 hours because they do it on TikTok. And you think, it's a bit strong. You know, have you done any running? No, I go to the gym and I do high rocks. So I must be able to do it in 2.5 hours with no shirt on and in a pair of running shoes. So I think it's a good time to set realistic goals, okay? And I think that's what we're going to do. So, boys, I've got 5 stages. And I think I'll open it up to you and let's discuss. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I think, firstly, stage 1, I've titled Reflect and Assess. So firstly, reflect, your why. Why are you setting? Why you want to set running goals? What is the end target in mind, right? But then also within that sort of reflection period, you have to understand your current level of fitness. Now, this is appropriate for me. Okay, obviously 6 weeks out, calf tear, Berlin Marathon. Where am I at? Okay, so that's me at the moment. I'm assessing my current fitness level, reflecting on the why. I know why I want to do it because I now realistically have to push my time into the new year. But I'm assessing my fitness level. So I think that's the sort of first stage in which you should do. So my question to you 3, not necessarily on the reflecting on the why, because I think, we've all been through that, why we run and things like that. But do you actually stop and assess your own fitness before you jump into a plan or start targeting a goal out?
Yes. So like you, I've kind of been struggling a bit with getting out there, but not because of physical, mainly because of mental. And you start to beat yourself up, don't you? Because you start looking back at past glories and you're not being honest with yourself about where your current fitness is. And, the motto should be you should train for the fitness you're at, not the fitness you were at. So that comes into the kind of reflect and assess, as you've said. I actually think before you even get there, there's an earlier stage, and it ties in with your why, and it's what's important to you about running and what do you get as enjoyment. Because setting that as your kind of overarching long-term goal before you get into specifics of dates and races and times kind of wraps around everything you should be doing is just trying to set those medium long-term goals. Is if it gets to a point where you're not enjoying it, if it gets to a point where you're constantly injured because you're pushing it, then you're going to fall out of love with running, and that's really not we want to avoid that situation.
100%.
We most of us are competitive and we want to get better, but you've got to kind of have that helicopter view and be able to step back from it and have a slightly higher look at kind of why you even think about lacing up in the first place. And if you can get that into your plans and your goals, then you're kind of guaranteed to win, I think.
Yeah. Wilco, do you assess your current levels of fitness before you do anything?
What I've really done is because it's 3 weeks since I've done Leeds. What I've done, spent quite a lot of time recently doing is sort of like assessing how the plan went and how the race went, and sort of like looked at, okay, well, what did I do? And it was relatively successful. I got a 10-minute PB on a tough course, so it went pretty well. And I look back and I say, well, okay, was that because, I cut down on my drinking a lot? I started going to yoga once a week. I made sure that I did a park run every week. So I'm doing a bit more. And I did a lot more pace in my long runs. So those 4 elements all must have helped. So what can I do now to develop on that for the next plan? I work on a sort of like analogy that I'm only as good as my last game, So that's the assessing that I've been doing. I've been looking at the plan. So like, okay, well, could I do a bit of weight training? Could I fit that in somewhere in the plan? Perhaps I could help that out, or perhaps a bit more, should I be getting to bed a bit earlier? Perhaps look at the rest.
So you're more reflective than actually assessing.
Well, yeah, it is reflective in that I'm looking at what I did in the last one, but I'm assessing it and looking at because you can't. The trouble is you can't quantify what each element's done for you because it's a combination of all the things. You can't say, oh well, it's because I packed up the booze or something like that. It's a whole. You don't know what exact effects everything had. But yeah, I've been thinking about lots of that stuff. So as somebody who likes to do their own training plans, I've been thinking about, okay, well, what can I put in there? What other things could I knock on the head and perhaps see a bit of
we'll come into that. We'll come on to that. Yeah. So Hayden?
Yeah, I think reflection is important, but I think looking at a different coming at a different angle, I think reflection is more important to look back at how well you've done and how you've got to where you are now. I think if you understand how your performance has been in the past and where you are right now, that makes that easier for that next stage of thinking about where you can go to next. Do I assess my fitness right? I'm starting a training plan Monday, 16-week marathon. Am I thinking to myself right now, right, what is my fitness like before I start that plan? If I'm honest, probably not. I feel as though a plan, obviously, I know I'm not starting from scratch. That's a different situation altogether. If you're starting from any sort of form or level of fitness, the whole idea for me of a 16-week plan is to get you in tip-top shape. Obviously, it becomes easier if you have a target, which I'm sure we'll go on to soon enough anyway. So then you need to assess your fitness if you want to create a target. But for the fact of just thinking now, I want to run a marathon in 16 weeks' time, I just look at past performance rather than sort of assessing where I am fitness-wise now. I feel as though I'm fit enough to run a marathon. Maybe not tomorrow, but I feel as though I know I've got 16 weeks of this, and the whole idea, if the plan goes well, in 16 weeks' time, I'll be able to run a marathon. So I won't bog myself down too much assessing my fitness right now, but reflection on past events and what you've done in the past, and being kind to yourself and being pleased with yourself, being proud of yourself as well. That gives you the right mental state going forward.
Hayden, do you reflect on the events you've done, or do you reflect where you are the last time you started a 16-week plan?
It's not so much the events I've done, probably the achievements. They are possibly linked, the two things. But yeah, probably just on what I've achieved and what I've got to where I am now. I suppose it might be different if it's maybe going to be your first marathon. It's a complete different conversation. But I say I'm privileged enough that this isn't my first marathon. So as it goes back to what you said before, we're all so individual. We're going to look at this planning stage.
Yeah,
so
see, because we are looking at it differently. We can tell because you're looking at the whole picture of where you've been in your whole journey, whereas I'm just looking back at the last big race I did and sort of like chopping that up. Not worrying too much about where I was sort of like 5 or 6 years ago. And I know that can act as a real motivation for people and seeing that as progress, but I'm just sort of like trying to it seems a bit callous, but just trying to concentrate in the job in hand and seeing where I am compared to the last time I went out there.
But Hayden makes a really good point there. If this is early on in your running journey and you are stepping up in distance, it's that how do you even think about assessing what your goals are? Because you're going into the unknown. Oh, is that a good link?
What a link.
Nailed it.
It's like we rehearsed it.
Bruv, honestly, you wouldn't believe that we just turned this thing on at 2 minutes too. Okay, now you're going to love this.
1 minute to 7.
This has got coaching, me and you written all over it. Ready? Define your goals. Set SMART goals. See where I'm going now?
But can you name the SMART? Go on.
Yeah.
I've written them down.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound.
Spot on. 5 out of 5.
Okay, so let's I'm going to define them and we'll get into it, right? I want to also add something into this define your goals. But so we're talking about SMART goals, okay? So you've assessed your fitness, you've reflected on why you're going to go out and do whatever you're going to do. And then your SMART goals need to be specific. So clearly define what you want to achieve. I want to finish that 5K and I don't want to be dead. I want to finish the Berlin Marathon and get my 6 star. Whatever it is, okay? But be specific with your goal. Like literally to the point. Measurable. Ensure your goal can be tracked. Now that can be, right? Increasing your distance by, I don't know, 1 kilometer a week or whatever it is. So you're seeing progress, okay? And you can measure that progress. Whether you won't necessarily see the speed straight away or that stamina coming through, but make sure that you have something you can track. And usually distance is an easy thing to track because, if you're going up to, let's say, a half marathon, you want to track up, you can track the distance you're running. Achievable. We just said about it or started to get into it. Setting a goal that is challenging, but it's attainable. Okay. So like I said, don't be thinking you're some Herbert who does IROX every other week and go and smash out a 2:25 marathon. It ain't happening. All right. Unless you're like super talented like Speedgo, you ain't going to do it. Okay. Relevant. Make sure the goal is relevant and is in line with your broader objectives. So, yeah, I mean, it's like working towards that bigger thing. Are you trying to collect 6 stars like Hayden? Is it relevant to that? Or you want to get off the couch to get to 5K? So you actually want to get to 10K. So is it part of that journey? So how relevant is it? And finally, time bound. You need to set a deadline. There's no point saying, I'm going to run a marathon, and then you don't do it for 4 years. All right? The easiest thing to do is book a race. Okay? So you've got to give yourself that goal. And these SMART goals can be within a plan. Okay? That can be literally week by week. You can take this and work it week by week. I want to, by the end of the week, yeah? So again, clearly defining what you want to achieve. Is it measurable? Yeah, because I've moved towards that. It's achievable. Yeah, because it's challenging, but I will be able to do it. And I've got to the end of the week to do it. So you can bring SMART into the week. Do you see what I mean? You can even bring it into a run. So by doing that, setting those SMART goals at stage 2 of this, it will make a huge difference to actually you achieving it. So Al, I'm going to come to you because like me, you love all this sort of stuff.
I thought he was going to ask me a question.
No.
I'm waiting to answer the question. No, you're absolutely right in terms of a goal has to be, that whole SMART, measurable, everything. And I kind of alluded to it. I think that the difficult part is knowing where to pitch it in terms of that attainable. If it's and that really comes into, for me, the psychology of kind of, do you set it too easy and you get the euphoria, but you're not really pushing yourself and you won't progress because it is quite easy. But then if you set it too hard, are you just going to beat yourself up because you just feel like you're failing constantly and you're kind of disheartened, and then suddenly you fall out of love with it because you've just pitched it far too hard. And it's striking the balance. Some people need those real tough goals because they know that will drive them. Others, you just want to see that success build and compound. It's that classic 1% improvement every day will get you nearly 40% improvement over the course of the year. So if you think about that in your goal setting, just 1 little percent every day, you're going to smash it by the end of the year. But it's finding that balance. And there's things you can do. If you are setting out on your journey, you'll know, Chris, as a coach, that there's the Golden Mile test, there's the Cooper test. You can try and do technical things to try and set your baseline to then kind of go back and look at the race equivalent and go, well, actually, maybe not this block. I might need 2 blocks to get there. Or, this suddenly becomes my longer term goal because I have to just make sure I can take step by step chunks at this.
He's definitely read my notes because I was just the thing I added was choosing short and long term goals, like something you can achieve in a few weeks, months, versus like something that's going to take you a lot longer, and aligning that up and that kind of thing. Look, I want to move on, right? And I'll come to you boys and the others, because otherwise we're going to literally be here and Hayden won't be able to eat. I think after you've done you define your goals, you've used the SMART method that we've given you. It's to plan the training, right? That's where Wilco, what you're saying. But I want to throw this out a little bit to Hayden in terms of, so you've got to basically create your training plan, yeah.
Yep.
And I think it's important to incorporate some milestones within that. So you've got barometers or whatever,
barometers,
of stuff to hit, right? So for Hayden, for you, in terms of your training plan. You know, you're sitting there now today about to, you know, stuff your face, last meal before you got to get on it, son. In terms of looking after yourself. Actually, I should have had a blowout tonight, really. Mind you, I've done 6 weeks of that. But sitting there, what's your sort of thought process towards your training for the next 16 weeks? Have you mapped it out? Are you, you know, what are you doing?
I'm actually going to change up a little bit this time. So in the past, I have thought about this and sort of with the planning phase that we spoke about before, I've almost got that 16-week plan. I've sorted it out maybe 20 weeks out, maybe tinkered with it a little bit. But this time I'm going to literally take it about two or 3 weeks at a time, just purely so I can adapt. Because I know what I'd like to do at the end of the training plan. I know what my specific goal is at the end. Is it achievable? It's tough to know. As Al said before, and I'm guilty of it, I set myself soft targets, and I know I do, and I achieve them. And yeah, I'm proud of myself because I've done that achievement. But I always think to myself, I could have done more. And I want to go maybe one marathon where I think, or not marathon, but one sort of race schedule where I think, no, do you know what? I gave it absolutely everything. Maybe this is going to be the one.
I was a bit like that with Leeds. I was sort of like, you know, like with the drinking and all that sort of thing. I thought I'd really like to know how well I can actually do if I behave myself. And if I come off and think I could not have done anything more really in my training plan to have improved, you know, because there's always things during the, you know, race day that's going to affect, like Leeds, it was a particularly hot day, you know, and it was pretty taxing, you know, stuff that you can't do anything about. But I came off that thinking, I don't think I could have done much more. And I think, you know, if you can devise a plan and commit yourself to that 4 months with those sort of things, and then you think, you know, it really helps. It helps you mentally afterwards to think, well, I gave that a really good crack.
Don't get me wrong. I've come out of races feeling like that. I've come out New York. At the end, I had absolutely nothing. I was done. I've come out of races, but have I ever come out of a plan feeling like that? Probably not. So maybe this is something different this time. I'm going to try and.
So Hayden, that short-term perspective, is that something new for you? Is that something new for you this time? Only kind of looking at the next, because I've tried both and I can't work out what's more frightening. Is it to see those 20 weeks and look to week 16 where you go, I've got a 20 miler and I've got to do 8 miles at goal pace and go, how the hell am I going to get there? And it kind of freaks you out. Or is it the not knowing what's coming because you're only looking 1 week ahead and you don't know kind of, is it better not to know what is in week 16?
Not really, because I feel as though probably like yourself and Chris, that we've got it in our heads. You know the job that needs to be done. You know the mileage you're going to have to cover. That isn't the issue for me. It's more the adaptability, especially when you're doing an autumn marathon, because you've got the summer to deal with. You have holidays to deal with. You've got periods at work that are busy. You've got the weather to deal with. So I just want that little bit, not flexibility. I don't want to say to myself, I know that on July 31st I've got to run 20 miles. Because on August the 1st I might go away on holiday. So I will go about 2 weeks in advance, but I'm going to sort of play it by ear almost a little bit. I know what I've got to get to.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll get there.
It's interesting because, I mean, you called me today and I was doing it. I was writing my plan today. So I was putting it, so on the coaching app that we use, the performance running coaching app that I coach people on, I can enter the plans and you can change them around. You can adapt the whole thing, right? Literally adapt the whole thing. You can move your days around. You can change the paces. Even if, you know, I set it, you can still change it if you want to, right? And I was putting my strength sessions in there. I was putting literally everything in there today. And it's interesting because Vivian's saying, does an app to set a bad a training plan a good or bad? I have trying my own app this time. I'm going to try and use my own app in terms of keeping me accountable because I know what I need to do. I know the first few weeks are a little bit tricky because coming back, but I'm going to be using it. And it's, bear with me because it comes on to stage 4, but I'm going to be using it to track my progress. Okay. So I've put my plan on there that I've sort of used, but like what Hayden was saying, I've got the holiday in the middle. So I was thinking today, right, shit, but I know with the app that I can change stuff. So I put in there easy run basically every other day. Okay.
I just start with an Excel sheet and fill the days in.
Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you, but I want it on my watch and I want it on my phone.
That is the key. Vivian's question thing. The key. It's what works for you.
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
have to experiment and just have a look and go, and don't get, and make decisions about what you're going to do, and don't beat yourself up if things don't particularly, that you have to adapt stuff because, if only I hadn't have done this. Don't fall into that trap. Just have a go and see what happens.
Well, like I've always used old school method, and I like old school in terms of like literally a crayon moving stuff about on a piece of paper. I like that, and moving on to stage 4, tracking progress, right? So like ours spoken about it before about using a journal. We sell a journal on the 40 Run store that I put together. You can literally track your progress, and you can physically write down. But what you can do on the app, what I love is I can write my own notes, my own comments. So it's a journal as well. And again, I'm going to try and do that consciously. So I literally switch my watch on, right? And it tells me what I've got to do. And then I can write in there. So effectively, I can do it all in one place. But it's the same. It doesn't matter whether it's a piece of paper and like Al says about the journal, but you're tracking your progress. This is stage 4 that I wanted to talk about is, being able to write down what you're doing somewhere. You can then adjust as you need because you can say, you know what? That was bloody hard. All right. It might have meant to be hard, right? So don't just put down, that was hard because it was an interval session. But maybe you had a bit of work in there that was meant to be at a target pace. I've got one of my clients. I dropped his pace set, all his paces down, and it's a bit. I mean, he's going for a sub-3 marathon, right? So even he turned around and went, "It's a bit lively, isn't it?" But the point is we can see how he gets on with it, and then adjust him back up again if he wants to. But he's going to play with it. But again, being able to write that stuff down, see that physically, and comment on it and talk about it, you're tracking your own progress, and that will help you with these goals, but make them attainable. Going back to our SMART prognosis, that achievable element and that relevant element of it. And I think that's where it's key.
And don't be afraid to be flexible. I in that way that you were saying about your plans. See, like I always, if I followed like the 80-20 rule, like the 4 easy sessions to 1 tough. Now, if I turn up on a Tuesday night to Hartford and you put us through it, then that's what I'm looking for. But if I turn up and you say, okay, well, we're just going to have an easy pace 5K or something, then I think, right, okay, well, I'm going to have to fit in something a bit tougher later in the week. So then I'll look at what I'm doing on. And similarly, if I've cast a sort of like an interval session for a Wednesday, and then we thrash it out on a Tuesday, then I'm going to think I'm not going to be up to doing that. I might have to have a rest day and move that to a Friday and things like that. It
takes us into that area, doesn't it? Life gets in the way. Sometimes positively, sometimes negatively, and you have to adapt. And we see it all the time in the groups and in other forums about when life doesn't play out according to your plan. Should you go chasing the plan? Should you go chasing those missing miles, or do you just have to accept? No, I've got to be flexible. I've got to make those adjustments, and then hopefully I'll get back on track over a course of days, weeks, and months. Not rather than I've missed a session. I've got to go and chase that one.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, actually, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're just going to quick because stage 5 is coming up. I mean, it's quite a bit there. But so stage 1, right, this sort of step by step is a bit strong. But sort of in terms of setting your goals for later in the year or whenever you're listening to this, right, is to reflect on the why, assess your current fitness goals, yeah? Set your SMART goals, which we said about, which was specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. And don't forget to choose in there your short-term and long-term goals. Then plan your training, however you're doing that, right? Whether you're coming to me and getting a personalized training plan, going on our app, just picking something off the London Marathon, or, like Hayden's doing, literally getting a piece of paper and a crayon and writing it out every week to keep on top of the way he's doing, whatever it is, but just, incorporating those milestones within that. And then tracking it. And however you do that, whether it is app or you go, you buy the journal on the 40 Runs website, whatever, I don't know, you write it on a post-it note and stick it on the wall, whatever it is, okay? So I think the last thing, and this is, I think, probably one of the most interesting, is Brian Kerr, I've seen your question, we're going to come on to that. Stage 5, staying motivated and accountable, okay? I think the first thing, and this is why I put it on there, and we will all obviously sing to the rooftops about this, Hayden, is to find your running group, a running buddy within. 100%. If you find a running group and then you find a running buddy within that running group, The difference that can make, right, is huge. Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's all about support. Even if it's not just that one-on-one buddy, if it's a group that almost you're chatting with on a daily basis, you've got similar things in common. It's almost like they know you're running this marathon. They know you're doing the training, so it keeps you accountable. Exactly like what you just said. You're thinking to yourself that I've got. You tell them, you talk in a chat group. I've got a 20-mile run this week. They're like, oh, let's know how it goes. And you think, I'm going to go out then. I'm going to do this. And you're accountable. You come back. You let them give them feedback how it went. Yeah, having someone to talk to, if you're lucky enough to have that, even run with, maybe that's on a different level again. That means that's everything.
It demystifies the challenges and the difficulties because you know we're all our worst enemy in terms of our own brains telling us we can't. But if you're running there with someone, clearly you can. And when you're having those, difficult runs or those difficult times, you can just share, and just downloading is half the battle.
Yeah.
Owning up to it, sharing it, getting some feedback. It's never as bad as you think it is, and someone will kind of reinforce all the good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, here's a question. Do you guys set yourself sort of rewards when you hit a target or a milestone? I mean, Hayden will probably go out and buy another house or something, or another jet, right? Every time he does 5K.
I do.
Something like that.
One thing that I do is it was on a suggestion on here. Somebody did it sort of like sometime last year. They said that they put some money in a pot for every mile that they run. So I do sort of like 50p a mile every week. So I look at the mileage I've done.
Do you then put all that on the horses that you don't tell us about?
Oh, no, we don't. You know me, I don't do
got a box of cash behind it. Go on, carry on.
But so I do that. But also, and this was a point of thing, like when you was talking about milestones and everything, I think you need to have things that you're going to enjoy to look forward to within your. So, having a few events. See, like my next marathon will be in Yorkshire in October, but I've already penciled in the big half and the Great
That's
North
not
Run
a reward. That's not a reward
because they're great days, and I have a wonderful time. And I know that's what. So I can arrange. Oh yeah, well I'm going there that week, so perhaps I want to put one of my longer runs on a different week and things like that. I think you need to ensure that you can do the things that you enjoy as well. Otherwise, it does become too much.
You're not answering the question.
What?
I said you set yourself rewards. You got off on a tangent. I said you set yourself did you give yourself a reward?
He has and he hasn't. And I'm going to come in with a bit.
I said that my rewards are the good times that I have, and I ensure that they are in the diary so that I've got those to look forward to.
Wilco, be quiet.
Let me help you out here, Wilco, because I know exactly what you're saying. The whole money in a pot, that's what they call the extrinsic rewards. It's tangible, it's physical. You hit a target, you get your money, you can go out and buy your new shoes, and you can kind of see that, and it's visible. The intrinsic stuff is that you get that experience, you get that emotional connection, you get that joy. That is a reward in itself as well. So you're not wrong. It's just how you measure those two types of motivations, because you need both. You actually need both.
You need all these things, because the last thing you want to do is sort of like be miserable doing the training. I love a training
loads of shoes.
I really enjoy it. I love drawing it up, and I love going out, and I know knowing what I need to do and doing it. And now I've got used to doing them. It's the best part. I enjoy the process. You've got to enjoy the process.
Oh, Al, that's the point. I've got to show you a pair of shoes that I've got. I think you'll like them. No, wait, I thought about you today. I'll get them in a sec. So I tell you what. So within the staying motivated and accountability thing, right? Do you visualize? Now we've spoken about this before, visualizing success. We've done that on this podcast before, right? But when you're setting these goals, do you guys look forward and visualize that success? Hayden, you're nodding.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get the shoe out.
Do you know what? 100%, and mainly because I'll go back to it. But so the whole thing of me doing the majors, after I've done the second marathon, for 2.5 years, I visualised and pictured myself with that 6-star medal, and that went on for 2.5 years. And I always had it in my plan that it would be New York, the last one. And for me to keep thinking about that and keep thinking about that got me through race after race and got me through plan after plan. Because I knew, same as what we were talking about with the SMART acronym earlier, I had a goal. I had a goal, a finish point, a time constraint. I knew I wanted to get there. And the best way to do it is to visualize yourself there. It's the same as really, if you're having a diet, if you're a big person, you think, Joe, I want to lose a load of weight. Best thing you could do is visualize yourself on the beach, looking good, lost loads of weight. That will give you the motivation to go out and lose that weight. If you want to go to the gym and make yourself big, visualize yourself with big biceps and big chest and looking really good. That will give you that sort of like oomph to go there and get the job done. Visualization is so key to everything, I think.
Interesting. Right. Okay. Lastly, on this, and then we'll wrap it up. I think this is really important, right? Actually, on a serious point, and that is to stay positive and be patient throughout the whole.
This is coming from you.
Are you taking the piss now?
You must be the most unpositive and most impatient person I've ever met in my entire life. And you're sitting here. God. Oh,
If I ever get out a free card, you know what I'm going to say to you? It's 4 letters. Yeah, there you go. 4 letters. I'm diagnosed with ADHD. You can do one, mate. I could do whatever I like. It's like a pass. Thanks very much. Play that. No, right? Forget me. Old misery guts over here. And I'm not patient at all. I know. He'll say to me, yeah, we should do that. Do that next week. 2 seconds later, email's gone to somebody. Hey, what's going on here?
Shall I help you out, Chris?
Yeah.
Because in response to your serious point, progress is never linear. We like to think it is, and it isn't. And therefore, you kind of have to accept that. And that's where setting the rewards and being able to tick off the rewards, setting the goals and short-term goals and seeing the progress all allows you to, deliver. And that's where the patience come in. You kind of need to step back and see it all, because it won't just every day be a success. There will be bad days. That's inevitable. So that's where the patience kicks in.
Yeah, I think so. I think to summarise, and hopefully you appreciate the discussion, because it was a serious discussion tonight. Unusually, like we cock about on here. But I think reflecting on your motivation, setting the SMART goals, planning your training, tracking your progress, staying motivated, and by doing all that, you're going to be able to set realistic goals, achievable goals, and basically just nail them. Okay, and I think that's the key. Yes, Wilco.
One point I would say, like we've talked about running groups and not being on your own and things like that. I'd be really open-minded about educating yourself and asking other people for advice and what they think and stuff like that, and just getting as much information and things like that. Don't think that you've got to take it all on yourself. Get out there, read books, watch videos, talk to people, and it just helps you to make more informed decisions.
Listen to podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah. But not the ones where the people ain't qualified and they don't know what they're talking about. It's just there to make money through ad revenue and sponsorship. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I don't want to point any fingers. Al, are you ready for this? This is going to be no good for anybody on a podcast.
Right. Okay. I'm looking.
Ready?
I'll try and describe what you're showing me, shall I?
It's coming.
Ooh.
Oh.
The white look is you, isn't it?
It is. And I'm also a bit of a Halo brand lover. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is the Cloud Monster 2. But yeah, I thought when I got these, I immediately thought of you. I thought, this is Al all over.
It'll make me 6'7" in that stat.
I was going to say, they look like
Hayden,
the ones that...
You need these. Hayden, you need 2 pairs of these.
The day I thought you would hold up a pair of those shoes on this podcast,
they seem to
I don't know what
resemble...
to say. I don't know what to say.
I'm down with the TikTokers.
I would say that they're the sort of thing that Jerry Halliwell used to wear when she was in the Spice Girls.
Honestly, Hayden, you need a pair of these only to help you where you're falling down in that height department, as we saw on the.
That's only reason you've got them. So next time we meet up, you look taller than me.
No, the guys on were kind enough to send them through to me.
Wow, what? I don't know what to say. Absolutely shocked.
Now, chaps, Brian Kerr had an interesting question, and Al, I don't mind. I don't know if you want to talk about this or not.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going. Yeah.
In Amsterdam, wasn't it? Was it Amsterdam?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So Brian, where's his question gone?
I've got it. Have any of you guys ever run a race where you didn't finish due to health issues? Then how did you cope mentally with your first run or race back once you are fit again?
Go.
Well, it was. I nearly swore there. Hard.
Yeah.
So the context was 2022. partly because of COVID, I ended up running 5 marathons in just over 12 months. And I thought I'd, target, do all the planning and kind of progress towards improvement through the year. It was absolutely the opposite. My best race was my first race, and it just went downhill from there to the point where got to mile 16, ran round the Zellamzee, which is a beautiful river, but pretty isolated. I saw the train. I had my wallet in my pocket. Don't normally run with my wallet. I just walked off the course. It's like, I've had enough. Don't need to do this anymore. And that was a mental issue. It wasn't because of any physical injury. I think I was just broken because of the amount of commitment I'd put into those 15 or 18 months. And I don't know if it's different because it was mental. Physical might be better because you kind of can see an end to the diagnosis and an end to the recuperation and the recovery. But I found it really, really hard. And I think it took me a year, and there were some other life challenges going on, but it was actually going into Chicago just over a year later with completely reset expectations that I realised then I think I'd come through that. So I don't want to put you off, Brian. I don't want you to think, Jesus, I've got a year to kind of work through this, because, as I said, mine wasn't a physical injury, but I think it will. I suppose what I'm trying to say is it will cast doubts in your mind about your capability. You will start to double down on all the data because you're looking for evidence that may or may not be there. And that becomes a bit of a black place to be, searching for improvements. And sometimes you just have to step away. And I think we touched on it. And that's why I mentioned it in our opening gambit about goals. You've got to go back and reassess why you do it. If you love it and it gets you out and you're in the environment and you're running with friends, that's the best place to kind of restart your recovery.
It's so true. It makes such a difference. I know, and the videos this weekend actually, where I won't shy away from it. I was in a right old mess about not being able to run and all that sort of stuff. I wasn't dealing with it very well, and it was so nice, right? Going to Parkrun with the boys, and the video's out on Sunday. Wilco, you were there. And they absolutely took the piss out of me for 30 minutes, relentlessly took the piss out of me. Even jogged on at the finish so they could cheer me across the line. Sort of at complete piss take. But I had the best time because it was that it was just bringing that back, and it felt so good. And it again reminded me, not that I needed sort of reminding, but that feeling that you get with you running with your mates, And I'm so excited about being able to go out for a run tomorrow with Tobe. It's brilliant, and I'm not running Sunday, but seeing everybody in Southend, and then as we get back into it, but that weekend, that running on that Parkrun, and Wilco was there, so he buggered off and left me, but it was,
it's not about you don't miss the split times, do you? Exactly. What you miss is being out with your mates and having a good time and enjoying it. That's what keeps us all going. Not whether we get 4-hour marathons or stuff like that. It's the enjoyment that you get every day, where to the extent where I would not be doing these things if I didn't have this community and was involved in it. I wouldn't be running marathons.
You wouldn't, would you?
If I was on my own.
Of course you wouldn't. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? And I think that's where it goes back to, full circle in terms of the whole thing with running and Rob Burrow and everything what we opened up the show about, that community. Rugby league is so incredible about the community that's around rugby league and within places like Leeds, where community is such a strong. And I know it gets bandied about a lot by marketing people and agencies, and they like to use it on Instagram. Oh yeah, the running community, and you go to these events. And you see the running community not talking to each other because you've got all these different clubs and none of them are talking to each other. It just blows my mind. It's not true, it's purely up. But when you go to somewhere like Leeds, like Wrexham, or Newcastle, Blade and Race this weekend, where you see and feel, and in Southend on Sunday, we will see, feel, and it will just sort of radiate through you the natural. A running community, what it actually truly is. Yeah. And I think that can inspire, other people and help other people. through life and their journey, whatever they're going through. Because as it showed with Rob Burrow, we do any he said it, we only get one go at this. We got to maximize it, So
isn't it strange how demographics play such a big part of it? Like whenever we talk about community and community races, we do always tend to look at your Leeds area, Newcastle, Great North Run has to be sort of like the most community-based run in the world ever. That feeling, that just togetherness, just everything about it. It's just there's so much emotion. There's just everyone's invested. Whereas you said, you come down. No disrespect to the Stockley 10K. I'm doing it. I like it. It's through London, but it'll always have that almost like hollow feel. It doesn't. You don't. It just doesn't get you as much. But
I remember the volunteers. Apart from the 40 volunteers.
And that links on actually. So we're looking at at the moment. We've in the next 4 weeks, we're looking at getting a really big satellite club set up in Wakefield. And sort of the people we're talking to at the moment are going to be running that. The community they have around them and their ideas and their vision, their spirit, and the people that join them. Hull, we started a satellite club in Hull only 3 weeks ago, and the guy just literally put a post out there. Oh, I'm willing. Who wants to turn up on I think it was a Wednesday night at 7:00? These people, where they're coming from, he's got like half of Hull turning out every week. I just feel that demographically, there's just something different, something much more community based as we go in with the UK further north.
Yeah, it's I mean, you said about Wakefield. So if you're in the Wakefield area, right, just get along.
Yeah,
free weekly social group. We're going to put it out soon on that side of things. But again, you look at what the Global Running Club. I mean, I had people on a Monday listening to Bite Size. If you don't know what that is, it's like we talk about sort of like running shoes, coaching questions. I basically hang out for an hour with you guys. And we got people from all over the world tuning in for that. But they're part of the Global Running Crew because it's that virtual thing. But, solo runners like who may not have access to a local running club, doesn't have to be 40 runs. But you know what I mean? You can be part of that. And that could be huge to a lot of people. I mean, that's blown up. But yeah, it's incredible. Look at Mike Gordon's question. I'm too nervous to do it. Why? What's nerve? Don't be nervous about it, especially if you come along to our lot. It's probably the most welcoming bunch of people you could.
All I'd say, Mike, is we don't talk about paces. We don't talk about anything really to do with running most of the satellite groups. So
True.
Don't be intimidated just because we're talking about cadence and technical stuff on this podcast, because that's not what our satellite groups are about.
Nah.
They're more about chip shop runs, beer and...
Yeah, they're more like, what pub we going to? Like these, not right? We had the biggest turnout for a long time.
That's because I was doing my Lurf training.
Yeah, you was doing your Lurf, and congratulations on that. But Wilco, if you're honest, it's because they're all going for wine.
Yeah, there's people we hadn't seen since Christmas. We only said on the thing, what? It's the first Tuesday of the month. Why don't we go to the pub? Weld and his wife turned up.
Even the people.
If that's not a reason to join our running club, I don't know what is, mate.
It's amazing. It's
and in answer to his question, Medway and Sittingbourne are probably closest to Paddockwood.
Yeah, and I mean, you couldn't meet like better run leaders. You know what I mean? In terms of it making you feel welcome, making you feel part of the team, and a variety of runners. All walks of life. You're going to be embedded with there. And again, we talk about community, and we mean it, by the way. But it's the community within communities is what we've created within 40 runs, which is so awesome. But yeah, I think, Mike, you just get along there and let us know if it's a pile of shit, and just let us know. Come back to us. But I tell you what, it won't be. You'll be.
There's a lady actually at Gemma, her name is, at London, and she went along to where the London satellite was meeting up, and she stood opposite by the Gordon's wine bar because they meet opposite it, and she stood there and watched everyone meet up and was too scared to go over to let them all go off and run. I think she's done that 2 weeks in a row. On the third week, she was like, "Do you know what? I've just got to do this." And she walked over and said hi. She didn't know anyone. This was about a year ago. This Wednesday, she led the group completely herself because Sue wasn't there. She took the whole London group out.
There you go.
Unbelievable.
That's what it's all about. I mean, that just shows you everything that is 40 runs. And that's a great way to finish it, because it's very important that we finish it now, people, because Hayden's curry is getting cold.
Yeah. No, it's still not turned up.
Yeah, that's because I messaged Just Eat and redirected it. Me and Scarlett were talking about it before you come forward.
Yeah, I'm 40. I'll be round in about 10 minutes.
Get out. Getting the motor out. There's a pair of shoes
okay.
waiting for you as well. Right, people, that's it. We have got a busy weekend. We are, well, some of us, we are at Southend Half Marathon.
Yeah.
Make sure you come along if you're that. Again, if you feel like, I can't go up and talk to them and I can't do that, that's all bollocks, right? You've got to come up. You've got to say hi. You've got to get involved, right? You don't have to be wearing a shirt. You don't have to be wearing a pair of running shoes like me. You can wear whatever you want. You could be anything you want. You can be big, small, whatever. We can't really give a toss, right? You don't even have to be running the race. Just come along. Al, where are you going to be? Where can people find you this weekend? Where Parkrun are you going to be at?
Well, first of all, Saturday, there's a gang of us heading off to Bexley. I need a B for my B challenge, and it's part of London.
I've done that a couple of times, Al. You're like that.
Bexley.
No,
yeah. And then I thought I'd get away with it because when the fixture list came out, Sky changed a few fixtures, and I realised that actually I'm already committed to running St Albans half as a 220 pacer, along with Caroline and Petra. So
PB's doing that.
I'm going to miss the pink picnic this year. But I'm blaming the fixture congestion 100%. And Sky for changing things and not telling us.
Yeah, get on that. Hayden, where are you this weekend?
I will be running in Paphos in Cyprus. I'm going out there for a wedding this week, so I'm gonna go for a nice long run on Sunday with my lovely wife.
Good old net jets, he's keeping them afloat. So it's true. Right, so next week I'm back live on Monday at 8:00. And we've got a load of shoes to get through, so we can talk about shoes to your heart's content. If that's
any of them from On.
We do. We've got. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah. But to be honest with you, Nick's going mad. They're everywhere. Because I had 6 weeks out. It's just I've been like put some there, but I try not to keep them in the office. But they've now actually even come into here now. It's just like everywhere. She's like another delivery. It's like, but anyway, so I've got to get through that. So yes, that's next week. I've got absolutely no idea what we're going to be talking about next week, but I hope you enjoyed tonight and got something out of it. We wanted to do this. This was a good topic to talk about right now before people get into stuff for the second sort of part of the year, let's call it. So yes, that's thanks very much, guys. I appreciate you coming on. We've got to go off and direct some air traffic while Hayden fills his fat face with all that curry.
I can't wait.
I can smell it from here.
Athlete. And yes, I think that's it. Make sure you come and say hello to us at the weekend if you are around. And I don't think thanks very much to sketches.co.uk. Smash your life out, start fitness with the code 40 runs. Don't forget Kendall, like I said. I get some money off using the code 40 runs there. What other codes have we got? We've got shoe socks. You can use the code 4015 or 40 runs 15. Use that there. Any other codes that I've forgotten? There's loads of them.
Best off just going to the website. I think
just go to the website. Yeah. I've got no idea. And look out. Hopefully, I don't know if we'll be able to announce that one next week, but hopefully soon we'll be able to announce another key partnership that we've done with 40 runs, which will hopefully help a lot of people. So there we go. Right. So say bye, boys.
Cheers, everyone.
And we shall see you all
by the seaside.
By the seaside. There we go. Where's the outro? There.